Alexander the Great by Robin Patriquin. World History, Grade 9. Objectives. Students will learn who Alexander the Great was, where he came from, what he accomplished, and what happened to the areas he conquered after his death. Students will complete a pretest before watching the slideshow, so you should have already done that. If you didn't know some of the answers, you can fill them in as you watch this lesson. Then you will complete a quiz after the lesson. Alexander's background. Who was Alexander's father? Where did Alexander come from? Philip II was king of Macedonia. The picture here is of a sculpture of him. He was Alexander's father. Macedonia was a kingdom to the north of Greece. Here is a map of Macedonia and Greece. You can see Macedonia at the top. Philip II and the conquest of Greece. Philip was smart and innovative when it came to war tactics. He created a new kind of phalanx to be used in war. A phalanx was a formation of hoplites, or armed soldiers, that advanced shoulder to shoulder in a rectangle, about 8 men deep. In Philip's phalanx, the soldiers had lighter shields and swords than the Greeks, making it easier for them to move quickly. But they carried spears that were twice as long as the Greeks, making it so that the soldiers in Philip's army could kill Greek soldiers before the Greeks could even reach the Macedonians. Philip also had a group of engineers that designed new catapults. Philip was directly involved in battles. He would lead his men in. He didn't just hide in the back like other leaders might. This made his men very loyal to him. The Macedonians won the Battle of Chaeronea in 338 BCE against the Greek allies. The Corinthian League was formed, which forced all Greeks to be obedient to Philip. Philip was assassinated. Alexander against the Persians. Alexander was 20 years old when his father was assassinated, and he took his father's place. How do you think the Greeks felt about Macedonia taking control of them? They probably didn't like it too much. The Greeks thought of the Macedonians as barbarians. Alexander entered Asia Minor in 334 BCE. He had an army of 37,000 men and a cavalry of 5,000 men. They couldn't take a lot of supplies with them, so they had to count on winning victories in order to get food from the areas they conquered. Alexander brought architects, engineers, historians, and scientists with him. The first confrontation with the Persians was at the Granicus River in 334 BCE. Alexander, like his father, would lead his men into battle, and he almost died in this battle. Alexander had another victory against the Persians in Issus in 333 BCE. Unlike Alexander, Darius III, the king of Persia, did not lead his men in battle, and in fact, he ran away in the middle of this battle. Alexander wanted to take control of the sea away from Persia, so he took over Tyre and Gaza. It took Alexander 6 months to build a causeway to the island that Tyre was on, and a total of 7 months to conquer it. Alexander's empire. In 332 BCE, Alexander gained control of Egypt, Syria, and Palestine. He didn't even have to fight Egypt, they just surrendered. In 331 BCE, Alexander has another victory over the Persians at Gaugamela and took control of the Persian treasuries. Darius went into hiding and was assassinated by one of his own men. Alexander then moved into modern-day Pakistan. And in 327 BCE, he moved into India. Alexander wanted to keep going, but his men convinced him to turn back. They had been out warring for years without returning home. How would you feel if you had not been home for many years? Alexander led his troops back to Babylon across the Gadrosian Desert, where many of them died because of the extreme conditions. After reaching Babylon, Alexander himself died at the age of 32 in 323 BCE. Here is a map of Alexander's empire. Why do you think Alexander was so successful at conquering? I think it has to do with a couple different things. He was innovative and smart about war tactics, but he was also very accepting of the people and cultures of the areas he took over. He wanted to integrate the Greek culture with the native cultures, not take away the natives' cultures. Alexander's empire after his death. The empire could not stay together after Alexander's death. It was split up into 4 Hellenistic kingdoms: the Antagonid kingdom in Macedonia, the Seleucid kingdom, which stretched from Syria through much of the old Persian Empire, the Attalid kingdom of Pergamum in Western Asia Minor, and the Ptolemaic kingdom of Egypt. Why do you think Alexander's empire couldn't stay together after his death? I think one reason is that Alexander didn't name a successor. How did Alexander's empire affect trade and culture in the areas that were conquered? These were all Hellenistic kingdoms, and although they fought each other sometimes, there was trade going on between them. They established cities in these kingdoms that promoted predominantly Greek culture. Okay, now you can download the quiz and post your answers as a comment to my original post. Make sure you number your answers so I know which questions your answers belong to.